to Fireside Chat for this evening, which was originally supposed to air at 12 noon today. But we thought, let's do something a little different. And we experienced extreme technical difficulties, but we're excited that we're on right now. And so we want to give you an opportunity to come in. Please join us. We're going to have great conversation today. I have an incredible guest with me today, Malcom Dill, and we'll be talking about a few things as it relates to children, life, and just what he does in his industry and education. So we want you to be empowered, be inspired through this live. So go ahead and do us a favor and share this out so we can reach more people through this live. We want to make sure we're elevating and amplifying our message. Um, and then engage with us throughout this conversation. So if there are things that resonates with you as we are talking, comment below, let us know. Or if you're watching this later on after it's aired, we still love to hear from you. So don't be afraid to engage and to comment. And please don't forget to like and share this message, as well as follow us at all on all social media platforms at iraiseinc.org. That's our website. Our handles are iraise.org on all social media platforms. Malcom, thank you so much for bearing with us. This has been
All good.
such
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
been insane. I'm so happy that you're here, that you're flexible, and that you're with me this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you. So I want to read your bio formally on this actually last day of Black History Month, where we're going to be sort of talking about some of your experiences also as a Black male and what it's like in the area in the arena of education as a Black male. So Mr. Dill is a dedicated elementary school teacher hailing from Texas, good old Texas.
Whoop, whoop.
He has beautifully blended his passion for education and creative storytelling. Mr. Dill, graduated with a BA in early childhood music education and piano performance from Texas Southern University. He earned an MAT in dual teaching certification and general and special education from was it Relay Graduate School of Education, right in New York City. Mr. Dill is currently based in New York and wears many hats as an educator. He is a second grade music teacher and serves as the special education coordinator at the Equity Project Charter Schools in Washington Heights. Mr. Dill also plays a crucial role as a curriculum developer for barbershop books. I really want to learn more about that. Reading So Lit program, aiming to instill a lifelong love of reading in Black and brown boys and vulnerable children. And Mr. Dill is also a proud member of Profound Gentlemen, which is a mentor group that supports male educators of color. I love it. I love what you're doing. Again, welcome. Is there anything I left out that you want to add?
No, that was pretty much everything. As I was listening to you read back all of the things that I've been blessed to accomplish. This is definitely a full circle moment for me. So I'm privileged to be here.
I love that, and it's always interesting when you hear other people read your bio and you kind of think, "Is that was that me?" It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. When you love what you do, it's not work, it's passion, and it's a call. And so you when you have that full circle moment, you realize that you're right in the middle of what you love to do. Well, let's jump into like your story. You're a young Black male in education. That is a rarity, right? So what was it that really inspired you to be an educator? What was that sort of inspiration for you, and where did it start?
Yeah, well, at the age of 7 years old, I made the conscious decision that I was going to be in school for the rest of my life.
Love that.
I literally said those words to myself, and I think that was mainly due to the positive experiences that I had coming up,
Sure.
uh, in school. The education system today and in the past hasn't really served um, people of color, but I was one of them too. I would say that I had a pretty great positive experience coming through school, and so part of the reason why I decided to become an educator, it was partly due to me not wanting to just be known, or I didn't feel fulfilled just being a music educator. I wanted to delve into other aspects of education and not sort of block myself into one thing. And I look back now and that decision has really brought me to where I am today, being able to do both of those things, right? Having taught in ICT, integrated co-teaching classrooms with general education students, special education students, and now teaching those populations and teaching kids how to make music, how to create, how to play it, how to read it, and just have fun. Yeah.
No, I love that, and and it's so interesting that you knew, from 7 years old, you sort of made this declaration that you would be in school for your entire life, not really knowing at that age what that would look like, but almost something in you, sort of knew that this was your call. I really truly love that. The other thing that I love is essentially how you take music and you integrate it into education. I want you to talk a little bit about the importance of music. Why is music important, especially in the African diaspora? And then what does it do for children?
Yeah. Well, music is ingrained in our African history, but particularly as it relates to getting kids to be engaged in school and learn and hold on to new information, things that people wouldn't even think music could enhance. Music does that for children. I've seen it through chants and cheers, getting them to be motivated. I've seen I used to work at KIP, and they were really big on chants and cheers and using music as a way to get kids to understand topics and to just to be engaged. And so now I use it as a way to get kids to become more self-aware, to become leaders in the classroom. If you walk into my classroom, there's not going to be a lot of teacher talk. There's going to be a lot of music making and a lot of student decisions. So I try to empower kids through music as a way to, get them to become leaders and create their own life. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, I would, we would love to see what that classroom looks like, and maybe, talk a little bit offline about, even the sort of that piece of music creation and leadership and how you're blending those two concepts again, together. And I also love the decision making. Tell me what the importance of decision making is, or having decision making power as a young person. How important is that?
Well, it's very important, especially for young Black children who the media constantly tells them what to do and how they should move, how they should dress. And so when you step into spaces like a classroom or a music classroom, there's infinite opportunities for kids to choose what instrument they want to play, who they want to partner with, what type of music they want to play. At the beginning of every new unit, I like to talk to the kids and ask them, what activities would you like for us to do in our classroom? And I try to incorporate as much of their preferences into my curriculum as possible. And one of the privileges of being able to write your own music curriculum is that you can do that. You can really leverage what kids find important, what kids find fun and engaging into the curriculum. That's what makes it so impactful.
And it's incredible. It's the intentionality behind what you're doing in the classroom in terms of uh, allowing them to choose. And I do believe kids need choices. And it's very true for Black and brown kids. Choices is essentially absent. It's
Yeah.
constantly being taken from them. there's this video clip that I'm thinking about. I'm not sure if you've seen it, Malcolm, but it's a clip with two poets or spoken word artists, female spoken word artists of color, and they're essentially depicting the story of Black kids and public school education. It breaks your heart when you hear it because they're yelling out commands like walk straight, walk through the hall, and it's sort of that prison sort of structured environment that they're speaking to. And so when you talk about choices, it reminds me of, how a lot of times our black and brown kids are in trouble for speaking up, not celebrated for speaking their mind. And so I think it's really important that we do teach black and brown kids the power of their voice, how to use it, and then also the power of decision making, that life doesn't have to happen to you, it can happen for you.
Exactly. I love that you brought that up. There's actually a page in my book. So I wrote a children's book called Marvin's Second Day. My 7-year-old second grade protagonist, Marvin, takes kids on a journey of all of his first experiences, his first being his second day at school. And it's funny that you talk about some of the things that kids constantly hear, right, in class. Pay attention in class, keep your head up, I keep moving forward, stay in line. And my character, Marvin, he's not feeling that at all. He's highly self-aware and he is a self-advocate. And he likes to dance. And it's just that example. I wrote the book as a way to get kids to open up and talk about their feelings and use their voices through humor and through illustrated, through high engaging, high quality illustrations. But there are a lot of lessons that are in there for adults and for teachers as well, that our students are humans, and we do forget that, sometimes that these little babies are one day going to be grown adults. And so a lot of what we're instilling, if not all of what we're instilling in them, will make them who they will become. So yeah, it's very important.
I love that. Can you hold the book up for us
Yeah,
and just
sure.
I truly love that. Tell us who's on the front. Explain that front cover to us if you can.
Yeah, without giving too much away. So this is Marvin. Again, he's 7 years old. He's in the second grade. This is his second day of school. I decided to go with the title of Second for the first book in the series because there's something about the second day, Shaniqua. I've been in the classroom for 6.5, going on 7 years, and the first day of school, they come in, they're chill, they come and collect. But the second day, they are turned all the way.
Turn up time, second
And I
day.
know there are a lot of educators that can probably relate to that. The second day of school for sure. So Marvin, yeah, he has a frown in his face, and I like to ask kids, why? Why do you think he has that frown in his face? Where is he? And they start putting context clues together. Giant teacher apples. What? His teacher's a giant? That's crazy. And why is this fish? And all these folks just like staring at him. Yeah. So
Wow.
that really draws kids in, and yeah.
That's incredible. Congratulations to you for your creativity, your ingenuity, and especially as a black male for taking something like that on. Your perspective is so important. So we'd love to look into how to purchase some of those books for our students out in Brooklyn. That would be incredible.
That's
Maybe
awesome. I'm
even
doing
have,
work in Brooklyn as we speak. So yeah, it'll be great.
yeah, maybe even have a book reading, and also for other schools or individuals that may want to reach out to you around
Absolutely.
your book as well.
Yeah,
Um, so Marvin is a really interesting character. He reminds me of I think most of our students that we see and we work with in public schools out in New York City. And I'm wondering, with kids like Marvin, they're different. They don't see the world the same way, and different doesn't mean abnormal, and it also doesn't mean something's wrong, right? And I think that we as educators and advocates of young people sometimes what we don't understand we reject, and we mislabel or we characterize as wrong. So how does our education systems begin to accommodate our Marvin students so that we're not rejecting them, but we're embracing their talent and creating a place for them to be able to grow?
yeah. it's a work that, to be honest, may never be done, right? Systemic racism is so deeply rooted in our culture that sometimes, even as Black folks, we don't see it, right?
Yes.
Um, and it's great that we get the opportunity to do that work so that we can sort of expose those those things as they show up, especially in places like a school. And one of the ways that we do that is by taking on systemic racism at the head, making sure that everyone in our in our at our school sites are invested, are aware of the systems that are at play, and also attend workshops and professional development on a regular basis that target that specific topic. But yeah, without because we can go on all day talking about some of the great things that are happening though is that we're starting to see our Black and brown kids feel like they actually have a voice and that they can use that voice to self-advocate. Um, and one of the ways that I do that is by teaching kids how to read. I'm a music teacher, but I love to say that everyone's a reading teacher. Um, everyone's a reading teacher. Shout out to Barbershop Books. It's a literacy nonprofit that I've had the opportunity to do work with. They've even understood that barbers and Black-owned barbershops can also be um, reading supporters, reading teachers. And so, yeah, teaching kids reading is going to take them where they need to be. That is what kids need in order to achieve their dreams. In addition to all of the things that are already in them, they also need to know how to read. And so I feel that it is a social injustice to know the correct strategies and choose not to teach them, right? Or know um, that the education system as it is not teaching kids effectively how to read and how to become literate in this highly literate world. So yeah, that's one of the ways that we push back.
That's incredible. I'm interested in learning a little more about your approach to kids with special needs, um, namely students that may have a diagnosis, students that may have autism or ADHD, or who have experienced some form of trauma. How do you accommodate the needs of those students into your classroom?
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background with me, I've worked in um, classroom spaces that were always integrated. So I would always have a second co-teacher in the classroom because we are teaching children who have been labeled as general education and kids who have been labeled as special education. For those students who have been labeled as special education, I've had students who were on the spectrum, who have other health impairments, a myriad of things, learning disabilities. And one of the biggest things, or one of the best strategies that I use in order to make sure that those students are engaged, is making sure that I bring my total self into the classroom. Because if I can't be myself, then I'm not going to be able to understand where this young person is coming from, right? And so that looks like self-care outside the classroom. Teachers, take care of yourself first, because once you come into the classroom space, like, it's not fair to kids that you're not your best self. And being my best self allows me then to create engaging curriculum, right? Incorporating remnants of things that they find enjoyable. Some of the ways that I do that in the music classroom is by using non-traditional instruments. There's an instrument, it's called a boom whacker, and it literally doesn't sound like what it does. It's a whacking instrument that they hit on things
Wow.
in order to make music. Um, and just being intentional about bringing in instruments or bringing in materials or bringing in curriculum components that are engaging, especially for our kids who like to move, they like to touch things. Okay, great, let's play on that. Take this boom whacker and go hit some stuff. Let's make some music. And
Yeah.
And when I was teaching reading and math in the general education, special education classroom, some of the ways that I engage kids was by giving them an opportunity to take their breaks, take their breaths, come back when you're ready, giving them a designated space in the room
Yeah.
to um, to dis, to regulate themselves before they're ready to move on with the lessons. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like such a incredible classroom space that has the wellness piece, the creativity piece, the self-expression, the leadership. It's a model, really, that I believe educators from near and far should be looking at. I'm also wondering about um, the integrating music piece as a whole. How could we really take music and how could we use that to help kids heal? What are some ways that we can, if we're educators, social workers, or just parents and we're just interested, how do we utilize the power of music to help our kids heal?
Mhm. By understanding that music is already within children, they already have songs within them, and so I like to give kids opportunities to create from the heart. And so that might look like writing your own poem, drawing your own poem for students who struggle with writing, or just working in small groups, coming up with something that you can present to others. That goes a long way with children, and it really helps to build their self-esteem.
I love that. I love that. And that's something I feel like we can implement, educators and those that work with young people can implement that. Can you tell us about a success story that you're really proud of, that you've been able to sort of help a young person through, and it could be New York or another state? What's one success story that you're proud of?
Yeah. About 4 years ago, I had a student in my class, in my guided reading class. He wasn't in my homeroom class, but he would come to me every day for guided reading for about 45 days consistently. And we would, teach him how to break these words down and how to sound out the words. Long story short, he became, a great reader. He's gone on now to be in middle school. His name is Caden Hearn. I don't know if you are familiar or have heard his name, but Caden last year was chosen by Governor Hochul to be New York's poet laureate, youth poet laureate. That was last year, and since then,
Incredible.
he spoke at Governor Hochul's inauguration, and since then, he's been busier than me and Marvin put together. Having spoken in front of the NAACP and so many other great organizations and people. And I say all that, and he's the first one to pop into my mind, is because I never thought, right, 4 or 5 years ago, that this young kid would be impacting my life and that his life would look like this, to this day. And so, again, that is another one of the stories as to why I think reading is so important. Um, he writes his own poems and he recites them. I said, the boy has a great brain. I would love to introduce you to him. Yeah, Caden Hearn. That's my success story if I ever had one.
I love that. And I'm sure there's so many other Caden Hearns out there that started out as Marvins and didn't want to sit down. They wanted to dance. They wanted to sing. Like they wanted to get loose, right?
Yeah.
Footwork and all that. So, I mean, I love that. And congratulations that you were influential and was a mentor to Caden. I definitely need to follow his work. In closing, as we're coming to a close here, um, I do believe that there are some educators and people that work with young people, be it youth pastors, be it parents, be it teachers, social workers. And it may be frustrated about not seeing progress, or perhaps they just need some advice. What tips would you give to these workers, educators, and parents on working with kids? Um, that might be dealing with some form of difficulty, challenge, or trauma? What would you say? Some tips you can give.
Yeah, I recently did a tabling event in downtown Brooklyn, and while I was there, I was approached by a parent and her son, and he was a very active kid. He immediately came to the table and started moving things around and putting things together. And she apologized, and so that conversation basically led to um, about a half an hour conversation about how she's struggling to her child has early onset autism and ADHD, which typically do exist simultaneously in young kids. And while he was, arranging my table and taking things apart, we had this conversation about how collaboration and advocacy are absolute necessary tools that parents should have in their belt. And so, collaboration that looks like working with your teachers and taking it a step further, holding them accountable. What strategies are you using, right, to teach my child how to read? Does it include the science of reading? Does this tool or this resource or this curriculum that does it include the science of reading? Um, and collaboration and advocacy. I believe the Department of Education provides parents with students with special needs with an advocate who is who has a deep understanding of special education law in New York City and in your state. Just finding all of those resources, going where you should go, because the resources are out there. It's tiring, and sometimes it takes a lot of time and effort to get what you need. But stay strong, um, and just understand that the help is there, but there's a lot of people who need the help, and so patience, collaboration, advocacy, all of those things are necessary.
That's so good, Malcolm. Thank you so much for that. And just to reiterate, I think new education, what changes with education, our educators, we change, our approach changes.
Yeah,
Um, we got to be holistic. We got to be well. We can't come to the table without being our authentic selves because doing our kids a disservice. We got
exactly.
to take care of our own selves before we get to that classroom so that we're not creating stressful environments for children. And we got to give kids an opportunity to lead, be heard, leverage the power of their voice, create opportunities for self expression, for leadership, to make decisions so that they could be the next Caden Hearns. We got to collaborate and advocate with our families, and we got to remember that we're doing this together. So I think this is incredible. It's been so refreshing to hear your story, your work, what you're doing. Um, Definitely would love to continue this conversation. Bringing you back on, but also just in supporting your work and your book. How can people reach you if they want to order your book, if they're interested in reaching out to you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Marvin's First Day. You can visit marvinsfirstday.com to get a copy of the book. And there's also a coloring book that comes with the bundle. It's an identity affirming coloring book for kids. So kids get to see how Marvin identifies. And then at the end, there's an activity where they get to talk about how they identify. So yeah, that's how you can contact me.
Thank you so much. Please reach out to Malcolm. If we can get his website up or put it in the chat box, support his work, support the incredible things that he's doing. It's groundbreaking. And I think this is where education should be heading. So, Malcolm, once again, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Yes, and for your patience. You modeled the way for sure tonight. So, thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. And thank you all so much for tuning in, for watching, for being a part of this impromptu evening fireside chat. Don't forget to follow us on iRaise.org on all social media platforms, as well as myself, Shaniqua E. Moore, on all social media platforms. And two quick announcements. We're launching our executive education course for young people that are interested in starting their own businesses. in any industry. That's a lunch